Hello guys and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me Vulcan. Today I have you Robert versus YueJin in the lower bracket final of the 4th Asia Pacific tournament. So Robert has steamed his way through the lower bracket to find his way here. Now is his chance to move back up to the grand final of the tournament. YueJin of course previously got knocked out of the upper bracket by Corbo, who then moved on directly to the final, and now YueJin has dropped down to face Robert. He does have a second chance to get back in the final. So that's what we're going to be seeing today. It is a best of one, and today the map is Merderet, Robert using his first Pancerna and YueJin using the 716th. So, we have seen YueJin defeat Robert previously. YueJin was the person who put Robert in the lower bracket in the first place, and that means that YueJin's 716th might have a decent chance here versus Robert's first Pancerna, when otherwise it's generally perceived to be a pretty hard matchup for the 716th. The main reason for that is Cromwell 5s, Cromwell 6s of course, but Cromwell 6s, especially on Merderet, will not necessarily have the range that they need in order to take advantage of that versus the fire support units of the 716th. So the Cromwell 6s are like really difficult to deal with sometimes because they can pin down the Pak 37s, they can pin down the IG-18s, but at closer ranges, those Pak 37s and IG-18s, they can do a lot more damage and can often be a lot harder to deal with. Also with the terrain that we're dealing with the forests and all that kind of stuff, YueJin will of course be using his Panzerschreck strategy with the 716th, where he has quite a lot of them at the start, so we are going to be seeing that come down from him. Let's take a look at some of the units already deployed. So on the top side here we do have the DMA with the Pak 37. There's going to be 2 Panzerschrecks for the top side. We do have Command Infantry and 2 Osttruppen. Further down it's going to be a double Osttruppen, Panzerschreck AT, and then we got 2 Panzerschrecks, Command double Osttruppen. And then we have on the very bottom side more Osttruppen, another Pak 37 and the Panzerschreck. So I like how YueJin is teaming up both the Panzerschrecks and the Pak 37s in the same place so that they can sort of provide almost a double threat against the Cromwells of Robert and also Staghounds or whatever else Robert decides to use. He does of course have quite decent recon as well. He's going to be using the Morris LRCs. You can't actually get the Stuart Recce's, or not the Stuart Recce's, but the Stuart 5 recon tanks, and it seems like Robert doesn't really favour those, but it's still going to be starting with the Cromwell 6, even though it's a relatively close range map. He's going to be leading that with 2 Streltsy there. He's got 2 behind as well, Morris LRC, 6-pounder and the Command. He's got 3 units of Streltsy for the mid, 1 for the top side, with also Command Carrier there as well, with the Command Infantry. So that's an interesting choice, because I think the reason for it is just to sort of provide like an AT vehicle, just in case any like fast pushes come through from the 716th. That's not something you really have to worry about normally as the 716th, or playing against the 716th. They're not really a division that rushes very well. But in this case, you can see that the Ulster has been brought out here. The majority of Robert's forces are on this bottom side. He's going to be going for this very aggressive push on one side of the map. So the Cromwell 6 here is going to be looking for that engagement with the Pak 37. We can see the Osttruppen have been revealed down here, and the Panzerschreck is already dead. That is huge, as it will not be able to ambush any of the units coming its way. With the Cromwell 6 also fire positioning towards the Pak 37, that's going to cause a little bit of a panic there, but the Pak 37's already out of there, YueJin backing off immediately. So YueJin's got to think of a way that he can deal with the Cromwell 6 and the Morris LRC combo here. Robert's keeping his 6-pounder AT in the Universal Carrier, and that's actually really smart out of Robert, because if he manages to make a lot of ground here, he can basically solidify it with his 6-pounder a little bit later on. But Pak 37 has found line of sight onto the Morris LRC. If he can take that out and blind Robert, it could make it very difficult for Herr Robert to continue to push forward. So transmission damage there is nice. The Morris LRC is going to try and continue. I don't think that the Cromwell 6 is going to be there in time. No, it's not. And the Cromwell 6 is now going to engage the Pak-37, but the Pak-37 is already backing off. So nice job there by YueJin to take out that recon. Very important, actually, if he wants to sort of stop a consistent push out of Herr Robert, especially as the Hurricane Mark IV now comes in. The Auster is going to have to travel back to this bottom side now to provide recon for Herr Robert, as the Panzerschreck here does actually take out this universal carrier. So nice hit there by the Panzerschreck, just removes that little bit of fire support. Elsewhere, YueJin is looking to make a little bit of ground. He's pushing up with Osttruppen. I think he's being quite cautious about it though, since rifles are still pretty difficult to deal with at close range. So he does need to be a bit careful about that. Now the IG-18 here under fire by the Cromwell 6, and this is the matchup that I was talking about. Cromwell 6 just deals with the Pak-37 and the IG-18s so damn well. So he's got to be very careful of that. But we do see that YueJin has invested in the Pak-40. He's going to be bringing in the Sopel Blitz with the Pak-40 here. He's going to maybe try and use that to ambush the Cromwell 6, but is going to need to get rid of this Alster if he wants to make it work properly. 52% territory lead currently in favour of Herr Robert, as he continuously makes more ground down here. Hurricane Mark IV is coming in onto the Pak-40 there, but the Opel Blitz takes the suppression. Pak-40 is perfectly okay for now. If it can poke into this tree line and get a shot on the Cromwell 6 before the Hurricanes come back round, then he could be in a very good position here. He just needs to make sure that gets on target. He's going to have a second shot since the Cromwell 6 is taking its time to aim. Okay, so he's missed. He can take one shot, and then the next shot has to hit. Otherwise, he's kind of done for. Never mind, the Hurricane Mark IV's already came back round, and that's going to be a hell of a strafing run onto that Pak-40. Now, what you may have noticed here is that the B2 is travelling in on this top side for YueJin, so it looks like he's going to try and make a play up there. On the bottom side, things aren't looking too good though. Herr Robert has pushed through very far, and these Streltsy are just solidifying the ground, and also the 6-pounder here is going to make things difficult for like a B2 to come in and try and stop this, because the B2 is actually a relatively good choice against a Cromwell 6 at close range, but against a 6-pounder probably not so much. But that 6-pounder is going to probably want to creep up at some point so it can start moving through these tree lines and get better line of sight down the road. And one thing I would like to see is maybe some AA, the Flak-Verlings, or I think you can get Flak 37s in Phase A. I think those would be a good choice just to stop this Ulster from causing so many issues, because it's really allowing targets for this Hurricane Mark IV right now. And yeah, this sort of emphasis on the top side here from YueJin is a good idea, since a lot of the reinforcements of Herr Robert will be coming down to the bottom side to solidify this push. But he can't just neglect this, right? Otherwise he will lose a lot of ground. And it may get to the point where like a Morris LRC or some other fast unit can just fast move through and take the land spawn, and that would be really devastating for Herr Robert in this game, or for YueJin, sorry. So this Osttruppen's doing relatively well. He's using the MG34 to pin down the Streltsy at a distance, but we can see the Hurricane Mark IV did actually manage to take out the Pak-40. Now, an ME-109G0 is engaging the Hurricane Mark IV here. I have seen previously that YueJin is extremely good with his air micro, so maybe he'll try and bait over some reinforcing AA or something, but at the moment, I'm not sure this is really going to work out. The Hurricane Mark IV is just going to be able to get quite a lot of shots on target, and the ME-109G0 really can't do too much about that. The best he can do is just cross and then hope to sort of just fly away and get out of there. Look how low that ME-109 is flying though. Wow. That is some evasive maneuvers right there. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, Osttruppen are getting absolutely annihilated. We can see that the Cromwell 6 took one out. The Streltsy are doing very well with the accompaniment of the universal carrier. But these Osttruppen are covered quite well by the tree lines for the most part, so they are pinning down Streltsy along this line here, as you can see. But these Grenadiers are going to smoke themselves off and try and get out of there. ME-109G0 is still going for the engagement onto the Hurricane Mark IV. It's still flying really low. Look at that. That's insane. Now what we can see on the top side is that with the introduction of the Panzer V2 and the overwhelming numbers of Osttruppen, YueJin has started to make some ground up here. Again, with Herr Robert putting most of his units on the bottom side here, it's actually meaning that the top side is very undefended, and it's very good of YueJin to identify that. So the Panzer's going to pop through there, kill the command carrier. This command infantry will likely be mowed down by the machine gun in the open. With the B2 coming through as well, you can see that YueJin's just turning this map on its side. Of course, he doesn't want to just give away the bottom side here. There's not too much he can do about it at the moment. He's in a pretty tough spot. He needs these Osttruppen to hold the best they can. With the introduction of a Stuart 5 though, that could make things difficult, but it's all on this Panzerschreck really to find the kill there. This Panzerschreck needs to be microed properly to find the kill onto the Stuart 5 rather than the Stralsee, because revealing itself is not good. However, I don't think Herr Robert noticed the Panzerschreck kill there. He may be a little bit too late to retreat from this. Panzerschreck's going to come out, get the driver wounded. YueJin's going to back it off, hopefully keep it alive. If he can, then that's great. If he can't, then the Stuart 5 could cause issues against his Osttruppen. So that looks like it's going to be the case down here on this bottom side. The B2 now coming into play, going to definitely deal with the Stralsee in the open. But with these Stralsee sort of solidifying their position into this house, for example, it just makes them incredibly hard to get rid of. But the territory not too far off now. Yes, Herr Robert's been pushing the +1, but we can see it's only a 51% territory lead now, since YueJin's pushed back on the top side. And taking quite a lot of ground actually, and he's got some units in some very good positions. So another Pak 37 going to be coming in down here. It's really reliant on these new Osttruppen that have arrived to find these Stralsee right now, because the B2 needs targets. I think another good choice at this point would be maybe Fusiliers, as their recon capabilities will help spot these sort of return fire Stralsee in these tree lines. The Oust is still flying around. That's going to be on the top side. There is now flak for link for the bottom side, so that's going to cover off this B2 at least. Stop that from getting strafed to oblivion. But this Oust on the top side causing issues, I believe. But Pak 37 has managed to track will destroy the Cromwell 5 here. And yes, it's going to be pinned down by the Pak 37, but with the B2 getting involved and that Cromwell 5 falling back, it's only a matter of time until the Cromwell 5 goes down now. Unless it's covered by smoke or the B2 somehow gets pinned down, this Cromwell 5 should be dead. Right, the command carrier has come in here with the command infantry. That's going to be trying to pin down this Osttruppen. We can see loads of Hurricane Mark 4s coming in, just trying to stop this B2 from securing the kill there. Speed Troop have been used instead of Fusiliers down here, and they're going to be spotting the Stralsee, which allows the B2 to pin them down and try and take them out. So that's going to be good for YueJin, but he needs some infantry to sort of secure this bottom side if he can. B2's still firing away, shrugging off a lot of these bullets at the moment, a lot of these cannon rounds from these Hurricane Mark 4s. And now the Pak 37 getting involved again. So there's a lot of fire coming onto this Cromwell 5. Surely it's only a matter of time till that goes down. Weapon jam as well. Another critical to add to the list. We can see a Flak 88 arriving now on this bottom side, since we have just moved into phase B. But the ME-109G0 there gets on the back of one of the Hurricanes, going to be shooting it down. I think maybe Herr Robert was caught off guard here. And this second Hurricane Mark 4 is going to be dead. Very nice cleanup there from YueJin with the ME-109G0 takes out both of the Hurricane Mark 4s. I think Herr Robert has one left that he's bought, but that is a huge swing for YueJin, taking away that air support. Now on this bottom side, the SDKFZ was used to surrender the Stralsee. There is some Stralsee stuck behind enemy lines there, but they're not going to be able to do too much. The bad thing about the Stralsee in general is that they have no AT, right? So they don't present like a rear threat like other units sometimes do. But these Osttruppen did manage to get the surrender here. We see the Cromwell 5 did eventually go down, and the ME-109 G0 has finished off the Ouster, so that's going to get rid of that. Pack 37 going to be engaging the command carrier here, and the Osttruppen now engaging 2 units of Streltsy. Should be okay-ish if the B2 gets involved, which it looks like it will be. And we can see the Panzerschreck in the mid does pick off the Stuart 5. That is a big hit, as it does allow the effectiveness of these Osttruppen to continue versus the Streltsy at range. However, 6-pounder does just take out one of the infantry squads there from YueJin, which is not exactly what he wants, but does still have one left. We can see the SDKFZ is going to be taken out by the Cromwell 6. B2 is now approaching that bottom side to cover the Flak 41 as it pushes forwards. Because this Cromwell 6, if it's fire positioned correctly, could fire position just to one side of the 88 and then pin it down and take it out. Now we can see that the Cromwell 4 has come into play on this top side. The Pack 37 really needs to get into line of sight there and start firing away. The B2 though does have a lot of suppression. So this Cromwell 4 could be in trouble if it remains with that firefight. Renfjord are going to be putting down the smoke though. Nice play there from YueJin. And this Osttruppen has been killed off. These Osttruppen a little bit further up are struggling. +1 on the board currently for YueJin, with Herr Robert still holding this ground on the bottom side. But this sort of counter push up here has worked out pretty well so far for YueJin, in a sense that it has kept him in the game and not allowed Herr Robert so much of a lead. But the kill there onto the B2 is going to make things difficult. If these Streltsy continue ahead of the Cromwell 4, there's no reason why this Pack 37 should get a kill. Also now with the mortar coming in, it's a 1200 meter range 81mm mortar. That's going to be able to help with this Pack 37 as well. Oh, nice kill though. Pack 37, just before it goes down, gets the shot onto the Cromwell 4. Big kill indeed. Definitely takes away a lot of the punch from Herr Robert on the top side there. Huge stuff indeed. Wow. That is insane. The Italian infantry now going to be able to do a lot of damage against the Streltsy and the command infantry. M5 half-track there. Yes, it can get involved, but has limited suppression capabilities. Also, of course, there is a Panzerfaust here, so if that half-track gets a little bit over-ambitious, it might find itself killed off. And with the Flak-Villing and the Lorraine on target, this 6-pounder is not going to be able to do too much down here. That's going to allow all of this infantry to continue advancing along this road. Pack 37 being pushed up there as well, B2. All of these units just going to help finish that 6-pounder off and allow YueJin to push back elsewhere. So now that YueJin's push on this top side has kind of faltered, he's done, I think, enough damage to allow himself to now concentrate on the bottom side. And YueJin just playing this really nicely at the moment. He's going to be solidifying his top hold with the Pioneers. That means that any Streltsy that get too close will just be blown up by their 20 HE power grenades. In the mid, Osttruppen still pinning down Streltsy, both here and here. Panzerschreck awaiting any armoured targets that get a little bit too close. I love the way the Lorraine there was actually used with its machine gun to take out that Streltsy unit, and the infantry just falling apart down here in the face of YueJin and his B2 and all of this fire support that he's bringing up. His infantry is just wandering forwards whilst all of these other units do the job, like the Flak-Villing, the Panzerhaubitze Lorraine, the B2, the 88. And with now weapon jam onto the Cromwell 6, it's going to be very difficult to take out this 88 as well. So Herr Robert has invested in a sexton, but honestly, these no-vet sextons are generally pretty lackluster. Now Osttruppen at close range here are going to surround the Streltsy. You can see that the front line did go over the Streltsy briefly. Streltsy need to stop if they want to try and kill off the Osttruppen, but honestly it looks like those Streltsy might end up getting surrendered unless the Hurricane Mark IV can come in and save the day, which it is going to do. And great job there by Herr Robert just to secure that little bit of an infantry engagement, gives him a little bit of ground back where YueJin is now sitting on a +1. So things really sort of, I guess, going back to the usual 50-50, it's interesting to see how Herr Robert pushed through on this bottom side, made quite a lot of ground. Then YueJin decided to push through the top side and make a lot himself. But now both players pushing the other back, and it's going back to this 50-50. But YueJin currently holding on to a little bit more ground at the moment, and this flak filling is going to stop that Hurricane Mark 4 support, which is good. 88 now arriving on the top as well. Probably doesn't want to come into the face of this mortar, but the mortar has just run out of ammunition. Not that YueJin's going to know that, but that could make things difficult for Herr Robert to deal with the 88. So this Panzerhaubitze is looking for a pin onto the Morris LRC here and the Streltsy. Black 41 and the B2 going to be finding and killing off this command infantry. That's going to be an easy surrender there. And now that infantry could all just continue to charge, backed up by this B2. So now moving into Phase B, and the fact we've been in Phase B for a while, I'd like to see the the Firefly 1 come in. That thing can be really, really useful for taking out the B2 and just getting rid of any armor presence that YueJin can use on this bottom side. So that would be a really nice choice just to support the push. Then accompanied by the Cromwell 6s, he can probably take out a lot of these infantry quite nicely. But YueJin making it very difficult at the moment. The Morris LRC going to go down. Pack 37 takes care of that. The Cromwell 6 is going to be fire positioning into this tree line to try and stop that Pack 37 killing that. But 53% territory now for YueJin. Pioneers clean up some Streltsy on the top side. Italian infantry now pushing forwards as well. Yes, Herr Robert has found a little bit of ground in the mid here around the chateau, but I'm not entirely sure how long that's going to last, especially with the reinforcing infantry coming in from YueJin here. This Panzerhaubitze is just forcing back that Cromwell 6 at the moment. It doesn't want to be left in the face of this Pack 37, but the Pack 37 is being pinned by the Sexton, so good job by Herr Robert to make that happen. Sherman 5 OP coming in on this top side is going to be looking for an off-map strike maybe onto the 88 or even the flak filling. That'd be a nice hit there for Herr Robert. Might prevent some more of this aggression from YueJin on the top side. Yeah, going to be going for the 88 first. Now what Herr Robert needs to do at this point is just bring in some more armor, in my opinion. He needs recon and armor, just so that he can spot and kill off the AT guns that YueJin's going to be bringing in. Also, he's then going to need like the Cromwell 7s to accompany them, so he can pin down the 88s from like around tree lines and stuff. M5 half-track here though does kill off some pioneers, that's not good. Going to be taking away a little bit of ground, but 54% and rising for YueJin as he continues to press on this bottom side. The overwhelming infantry availability here is actually taking out the first Pancerna, and honestly that is not something you see very often. The first Pancerna often doesn't struggle with infantry availability, but the 716th is just overwhelming at the moment. The 88 does go down to the off map and a lot of this infantry gets pinned and killed. So the Cromwell 4 are going to be trying to move up and take advantage of that. And if the Hurricane Mark 4 can pin the B2 a little bit, the Cromwell 4 at close range might be able to get the job done. But the ME-109G0 going to get onto the back of the Hurricane Mark 4. If this Bofors stops firing at the ME-109 to hit the HS-129 instead, this Hurricane could go down, but no, YueJin thinks better of it. HS-129B2 comes in, or B1 sorry, comes in with the shots onto the Cromwell 6, but not going to be finding it. Hurricane Mark 4 comes in to try and kill off the HS-129, but flak filling and flak 41 is going to stop that from occurring for now. Now in the mid here, we can see that I think one Pioneer squad was surrendered. YueJin's push back into the center area did not pay off at all. So that may be a place where Herr Robert can find a lot of ground. Also on this top side, the Cromwell 4 here, I'm surprised that it's not being more aggressive. But I think it's mainly due to the fact that there's no recon, and there's not really much infantry that's there to accompany it through the tree lines. And therefore, like, he can't really risk running into another Panzerschreck. So as you can see, he's going to reinforce with more rifles or more Streltsy, and then he can continue to try and push through. So that's what we're looking for Herr Robert on that top side. But all the while he sort of continues to reinforce the top side, YueJin's on a roll on this bottom side. Look at the amount of forces he has here. It's just absolutely insane. So the B2 just going to be moving up with attack move. I mean, most of the units all the time are on attack move, but in this case you can see that the Osttruppen just run ahead of the B2, and the B2 just sits there and waits for anything to be like revealed in these tree lines. Then it can pin it down and kill it off whilst his infantry actually takes the tree line, and then once the tree line's taken, you can move the B2 round the tree line to assist on the other side, which is what he'll probably look to do very shortly. Pioneers at close range though did manage to get the grenade off into that Streltsy squad, which takes him down to 3 health and will be surrendered soon after. On the top side, the Cromwell 4 did find itself forced back. The Panzerhaubitze Lorraine has been brought in up there. That's going to be causing issues. The one on the bottom side not currently in use, but still there if needed a little bit later on. Now we've moved into Phase C. YueJin does gain access to his more elite infantry here, and that's going to allow him to maybe clean up these Streltsy that are causing a little bit of a salient in the mid. And if he gets rid of this little bubble, then that's probably going to be 58% territory, which is exactly where he wants to be. Now this Panzerhaubitze, I mean, this has a lot of weight on its shoulders right now. If he can find some really good shots into this sort of choke here as the Streltsy move forwards with the Sherman 5 and the Cromwell 4, then he could be in a really good position to maybe surrender a lot of it. But at the moment, his B2 under pressure on the side of YueJin. Cromwell 4 should take that out. If it can take that out, then Herr Robert is going to find a strong push through here, and you can see he's done it as soon as his infantry has arrived. So his infantry came in off the reinforcement, now he's going for that push into YueJin's territory. So the Panzerhaubitze getting involved again. Going to be trying to counter battery the 4.2 inch mortar or 4.2 caliber mortar. Be like 120 mil. Oh, nice hit there by the infantry. Does manage to hit the half track with the Panzerfaust as the Superzi unload. That might be another surrender there, honestly. The Superzi being pinned. The infantry going to be bumping into those rifles at close range, and the beauty here is that the infantry on the side of YueJin has 8 HE and the Streltsy only have 5, so that's something he can take advantage of. Now the B2 has managed to fall all the way back, but it has given ground back to Herr Robert, so no +2 just yet. Herr Robert holding on. Still has a decent chance to come back in this game, I feel. Now the incomes aren't too different between the 716th and 1st Pancerna, so there's not a huge difference in availability or number of units that come onto the field from both sides. But what there is a difference is quality of units. So Firefly is definitely a nice thing that could be used in accompaniment of a Cromwell 6 on the bottom side. It's not ideal now that YueJin has taken a lot of this ground, because AT guns could be anywhere in here. But that's why you just need a little bit of recon to head up your charge, and then you can start to make some ground. And so far, we haven't really seen much recon out of the side of Herr Robert. Now, in general, recon isn't the be-all and end-all, because most of the time players prefer to use infantry squads as almost bait, which would then reveal the units that are in your way. Because if they don't then fire at the Streltsy, for example, in this case, then the Streltsy will just take ground. And you don't want that to ever happen for free. In this case, we can see that another mortar has come in, and that's going to pin down this Pack 40 briefly, which did get a shot onto the Cromwell 4 but didn't find the kill. Honestly, what we can see is that these Sextons, the Novet Sextons, have just struggled to kill the 88s throughout the game. That's caused Herr Robert have to rely on the Sherman 5s here. And what the mortars and sextons could be used for instead is countering a lot of this infantry out of YueJin, and so far that's what we can see on the top side at least. The 4.2 caliber mortar now getting involved here. Pancerna Lorraine going to be smashing into these Streltsy. Same thing on both sides. Both players trying to RT each other's infantry so they can't make ground. Because without the infantry there, it makes it very difficult for armoured vehicles to move forward safely. In this case, M5 half-track making a very good move here. He's going to surrender one unit of Osttruppen, might find the surrender onto the second, if that gets like a couple mortar shots onto it. But with this 88 being in a pretty risky position here for Robert, he's going to be wanting to focus that down instead. Comes in with a couple of rounds. B2 is pushing forwards on this bottom side though. Another 88 is arriving. This B2 could find the kill onto the Cromwell 6. At that close range does have some significant penetration. And if that occurs, then this section's very open to attack. Sexton might be able to kill off a B2 though with the 12 AP, but it's less likely than the B2 killing the Sexton, that's for sure. And now with the crew wounded, B2's got a chance. 88's well on the way forwards. And usually I'd say with an 88 coming in down there, the Cromwell 6 might be able to hold that off, but probably not in this case if the B2 manages to find the kill. But in the meantime on the top, well, YueJin's in a bit of trouble. His 88's pinned down, his Pack 40's pinned down. His HS-129 really needs to find that kill. Yes, it does. Onto the Cromwell 4, takes away one of the pieces of Herr Robert's push, and kind of just takes away that mobile AP, which then allows the B2 to dominate against the Sherman 5 and the Crusader AA at close range. Now the 6-pounder is here, and it's very smart of Herr Robert to basically have that 6-pounder following up, because now if the B2 wants to kill the Sherman 5 or the Crusader AA, it's pretty much got to reveal itself to a 6-pounder at some point. Unless Herr Robert sort of allows his tanks to be killed. And one of them's being forced back. The Panzer 35. That's going to be engaging the 6-pounder most likely. B2 not under fire just yet. The Panzer taking those shots. The Sherman 5 does go down. This B2 really needs to take care of the 6-pounder. And I'm not sure it will. Yeah, B2 is going to have to back off as the Panzer 35 does get taken out. Pack 37 on the main road here, I think killed the transport that was bringing in the 17-pounder, so he found that pinned down. B2 is still pushing on to the Cromwell 6 here, and now the SDKFZ with the help of the Flak 41 are going to try and pin down the Streltsy and find a surrender there. At close range, those machine guns can do a lot of damage, so if the light arms fire doesn't kill that half-track, well, yeah, they're going to be dead very shortly. And these Streltsy might just get found as well if YueJin decides to unload that infantry, but I think he's more concerned about getting it into the forest, because that's going to be very difficult to remove on the side of Herr Robert, and +2 now on the side of YueJin. So the Pancerna Lorraine's looking for the shots onto the 6-pounder. The Flak 88 still pinned down, B2 still falling back as well. But with the lack of armour now on the top side here after the Cromwell 4 got taken out, Herr Robert doesn't have much to push with, and that is really taking effect on that top side. He's definitely very strung out right now. He's trying to rely on Crusader AA Mark IIs to make ground here, and that's not really what you want to have to rely on. So a lot of infantry just has taken position on this bottom side, and like I said, it's just going to make it very difficult for Herr Robert to push back. It was the same deal on the other side, which is why it took so long for YueJin to push back. But as you can see, YueJin just left a couple of these Streltsy behind, and those Streltsy don't really do anything. They don't have much impact. They might be able to stop some infantry and reinforcements by ambushing them on the road, but other than that, there's not really much they can do. Now this B2 is engaging the Sexton, and if it takes that out, that's really, really good for YueJin, as it stops it firing at all his fire support units and tanks and stuff. 88 has briefly recovered here. This could be bad news for the 88 or the AA. Crusader AA does get driver wounded and forced to fall back. The 88 might get the kill there. These mortars just not on target. The 25 pounder really needs to keep that pinned, and just letting that 88 fire once has killed off another unit of Herr Robert. That's like his last Crusader AA, now gone down. I think the B2 took out the other. So Herr Robert's push just crumbling here, and whilst he continues to put points into this top side, he's losing out very much on this bottom side as his 17 pounder does go down, and this B2 is going to clean up the Cromwell 6 at close range, Cromwell 7 at a distance, just not really going to be doing too much. There we can see the Cromwell 6 now dead. Pack 37 here, what's that engaging? It's actually trying to kill off the Bofors and the M5 half-track in the mid. These Cromwell 7s just haven't really paid off this game, when they're generally seen as one of the power points of the Polish, especially in Phase A. They can get 4 of them. And often on more open maps, you would see all 4 of them. In this case, you can see that they are being brought in a little bit later on because their effectiveness is stifled by all of the different tree lines and the terrain, really, which YueJin has seemed to have played around quite well. Now, it hasn't been the prettiest game from the 716th. I would not be surprised if he still has a significant amount of losses. But with the human wave tactics that the 716th can use, it can just put them in a really good position in terms of territory as opposed to number of kills and deaths. Nice counter battery there from the Pancerna. Lorraine does finally finish off the 120mm mortar. This infantry has found the Superzi. Superzi can't engage with the flamethrower at that range, so that's just dead. That's going to give back even more territory to YueJin, and with him finding infantry into these tree lines, it makes things incredibly difficult, and also the kill there onto the Cromwell 6 is not what he wants to see. So YueJin really doing a great job down here, keeping these 88s alive in the face of those Sextons, and the Sextons just letting down Herr Robert. We're finally going to see a Firefly come out of the side of Herr Robert, but he is going to surrender after 33 minutes and 32 seconds. It would have been incredibly difficult for him at this point to start pushing back, especially with all of the Cromwell 6s going down. So I think an admirable surrender there from Herr Robert. And at the end of this one, well, YueJin, 3,145 kills to 1,625 losses. Extremely positive kill death, actually, for the 716th. It's not often you see that. So a lot of his units paying themselves off quite nicely. The B2s, I think, did a lot of work. This ME109G0, getting those 2 Hurricane kills initially, ended up killing off the other 2 Phase A Hurricane Mark IVs and the Elster. That is huge for YueJin, as it really just takes away a lot of that pressure that Herr Robert can put on early on. And that was, I think, without the use of anti-air. Like, that was before the anti-air even arrived. So fantastic air micro from YueJin to find those ME109 kills. Panzer B2 taking out a Sexton and a Cromwell 7 pays itself almost 3 times over with those other kills combined. Ostrupen here winning out against the Strelzy at range. Ostrupen with their machine guns can definitely win those engagements. The Panzerschreck's taking out important fire support units like the Morris LRC and the Carrier Command, which basically would otherwise stop the Ostrupen from advancing. So nice kills early on. Another B2 killing the Cromwell 5 and the command carrier there. We can see the Flakvilling that managed to take out the 6-pounder on the bottom side, and this infantry again just really outmatching the Polish infantry for the most part. 88 picks up that Cromwell 6 kill on the bottom side. Pancerna Lorraines were perfect there for counter battering anything that Herr Robert was trying to do, especially when it comes down to mortars. And mortars are generally, I mean, at closer ranges you can identify if there are mortars, and using the Panzerhaubitze to take them out is a very good idea, since you have overwhelming HE, which can do a lot of damage. Flak 41 88 is just doing really good as well. I mean, really nice kills there from YueJin across the board. Now the Cromwell 6 just didn't really do enough throughout the entire game. You can barely see any kills on the Cromwell 6s, maybe a few infantry here and there, but they got to do better than that, especially against the 716th, if you want to find victory. And in this case as well, the Hurricane Mark IVs really just didn't do the job. So commiserations to Herr Robert. He's going to be taking 3rd place in the tournament, so nothing to be ashamed of at all. Really fantastic job smashing through the lower bracket. But now YueJin going to have a 2nd shot at the final versus Corbo once again in a best of 3. So we'll have to see who comes out on top of that. But in the meantime, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you then. Goodbye.